The Empty-Headed Podcast.
What episode are we on? Can you remember?
It's episode 12, but it's
Yep.
the 15th in total.
Yep.
So episode 12. Really.
Right, okay.
We don't count the
Yep.
specials.
Yeah, we're going to have a bit of a recap, aren't we? Because obviously this is the first one of the new year. We've had a bit of a break. What happened last year when we started the podcast and that?
Yeah.
So,
I can't remember what month we started it. Was it August?
I can't remember. It might have been August, something like that.
I think the first one we put on Spotify and SoundCloud is August. That's when our birthday is going to be.
Yeah. What do you reckon? Like first sort of few, it were a bit. Do you know what, we didn't have the sound quality, did we?
The sound quality was poor the first three.
And we didn't really have a clue what we were doing. We
still don't have a clue what we're doing now.
No, we don't. No, we kind of chopped and changed it with the segments and that, didn't we?
Yes. Trending topics needed to go because that was just terrible.
Yeah. They are all available if you want to listen back on SoundCloud or Spotify, but no visuals. We're trying this out. If you don't see any visuals, it's because it didn't work.
Yes.
We'll see what happens if you
So
do.
we're on stream. Hello. These are our faces.
Yeah.
Dave Judas.
Sorry to subject you to that, Morty. So shall we? We're going to have a bit of a recap of, because the story section, the bedtime story section, seems to be one of the most popular with people that actually listened.
Should we do that now, or should we say that at the end of the bedtime?
I think we should have a recap of the stories if you want. So,
let's do it. Yeah. Seeing as that was one of the best features.
Yeah. And if you don't know what they were, it's kind of like a kind of League of Gentlemen-esque section, isn't it? Like we've got some sort of weird, twisted stories.
We have weird things go through our minds that we just need to put down on paper sometimes. Yeah.
But it's been good fun. It's been good fun writing them and then sort of performing them. Sometimes we've had lines to read.
Yes.
We'll have another one at the end of this podcast. So.
I did the very first story last year. Morty's going to do the very first story this year.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So the first one was Barry's birthday, which was by Thomas Git
Pecker, my first one.
Which you wrote.
Yeah, I wanted to for the very first story. I wanted shock.
It was
shock value, if you haven't heard it, go back and listen to him. But this one, basically, Barry's celebrating his birthday, and he's decided to lose his virginity with the money that his mother gives to him as a present. And long story short, he unfortunately somehow manages to lose his virginity to his mum.
It was pretty dark.
An incest story to
kick
start,
off the podcast.
Start as you mean to go on. That's what I say.
I know a few people were a bit shocked by it, but although we are spoiling it for people that haven't listened, so it don't matter, does it? Yeah.
If you haven't heard it, Game of Thrones made it quite bad.
Yeah, well, it is bad, isn't it?
It is bad, but you gotta have a laugh.
Yeah, with it. Yeah. The Love Below was our second one by Simon Charter.
Simon Charter, this was your first one.
I've forgotten the bloody premise of my own story. It was the...
was it Cliff or Clive? There was an elderly chap.
Old chap, wasn't it?
I forgot his name. He dug up...
There was a woman went missing.
Yes.
He dug up a body in his allotment.
Yes. But it was a robot.
It was a robot. It wasn't a missing woman, but it was a robot replica of a woman
who'd gone missing. Yeah. And he discovered a whole conspiracy.
He did.
That the local vicar, Father Gerald.
It kind of birthed the whole Cliffley thing, which is our...
we've kind of
town
accidentally created this town.
This sort of little
city.
Universe.
It changes depending on the story.
With different characters and that. A very League of Gentlemen, like I say, but this Father Gerald, this vicar, is not
recurring character.
Not someone that should be trusted. Nope. He's got his fingers in a lot of dodgy pies, hasn't he?
Yeah. And fingers are in pies, quite literally. Yeah, if you haven't heard that, go back. They're all on Spotify and SoundCloud. Yep. The Love Below, The
Love Below, that were a good one. Do you think that could happen?
Cannibalism.
Minor spoiler cannibalism
again.
In there.
Cannibalism has happened. Germany.
It has, yeah.
German doctors. Yeah, that can happen.
Yeah. The next one, which is one of my favourites actually, which you wrote, Beauty and the Hun.
By Phineas Smegma.
Phineas Smegma was the author there.
It was a bit of a culture shock, that one.
It was, yeah.
You think it's all
what's the premise again then?
Set back in the day. So you've got a sailor who gets made...
Have some podcast Haribo.
Podcast Haribo. We're not going to show on camera because, it's unpaid. So, a sailor who becomes first mate on the ship and there's another guy on the ship who's not happy with that. So he basically throws our protagonist overboard, and he gets found and saved by this mermaid called Beauty, who wants a boyfriend really. I can't remember his name. This is really bad considering we wrote these.
Can't remember.
He ends up setting her up with this other guy, this German chap that she washes up into her cave as well, and it's basically a love story between a Nazi.
He finds out she's a Nazi sympathiser, isn't she?
She's got lots of Nazi memorabilia that she's found on ships, and basically you find out that this is set way in the future, but war's happened. They're using wooden ships now. It's gone back old school.
Yeah. I like the twist of that. I like the twist. It's like,
there's mutiny, there's revenge. It's a great tale.
It's like Star Wars, isn't it? Because it's set in a galaxy
far
a long
away,
time ago.
A long time ago.
But they're using a
long time in the future.
Lightsabers and that. No, it's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, so that happened.
Yeah,
this is a long time in the future.
It could be thousands of... Yeah, but it's similar premise, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's like...
See what you're doing there.
Yeah. The next one
Story
was
4.
Pizza by our good friend Mike.
By Lionel
who's part of
Brosengard.
the Empty-Headed family.
Hi, Mike.
Yeah, so Mike wrote and performed this. And he's...
Put us all to shame, really.
He does a bit of voice acting work, and he's... So he's got all the right gear for it, hasn't he? So it's a really decent... quality piece of audio.
Put us to shame. This is why it spurred us on getting this equipment to get the audio sounding right.
Yeah. So that's good if you go back and listen to that. And that was like a turf war, wasn't it?
Between some elderly chaps
and stuff. I
pizza.
can't remember now.
Yeah. That could happen.
That could happen. Yeah.
Football hooligan Zimmers, the Hackney Zimmers, it was called, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That could happen. Beauty in the Hun couldn't happen.
In a galaxy far, far away, maybe.
It may have happened.
It may have happened
back in the day.
Yeah. No, that was good. That one. Definitely, Mike needs to maybe send us a few more bedtime stories.
Hopefully, maybe more this year. That'd be good.
The next one was it was a bit of a deviation from the bedtime stories we did.
Story 5, not really a story. It was a special interview with Randy Navarro.
Randy Navarro, which is
our American friend who does a radio show over there, Star Stories.
Didn't even really sound American, but it was.
He's not. He lives in America. He's not from America.
Right.
Yeah.
And he was interviewing a character that I came up with a bit back called Gary Sparkle, now called Gary Milan, and we did like a radio interview, and that character kind of birthed more stories as we go through this. You'll hear about that.
Yes.
So that was quite good fun. It was our first kind of like sketch that we performed together, I'd say. So that was pretty funny.
It was good.
Yeah, and we did some radio adverts in between that, didn't we? So,
and that kind of birthed the Cliffley. We kind of put the adverts into the Cliffley scenario as well.
Definitely, yeah.
Gets your mind, your cogs working in your mind when you get all these ideas coming. They aren't funny, but
But no, that's it. We find them funny. People might think, what the hell are you on about? But the next one was called The Pet Shop Boy,
by Sir Clive Redshaft.
Sir Clive Redshaft. So this one was where we first saw the parrot called Clarence, who saved the day, again set in Cliffley. And this was like about a guy who had stolen all these pets from this pet shop and
for
was
his
doing
pharmaceutical company.
Yeah, doing some sort of experiment on them for a company called Coma Pharmaceuticals, which we've done
a few adverts for them.
So that was quite
That's
a dark
one of my
ending
favourite
as well,
ones.
wasn't it?
Pet Shop Boy.
Was it? All right, cheers, mate. Thank you. Yeah. Again, don't know where that idea came from, but especially the bit where
we did originally start out. We were going to give each other ideas that we'd then have to make a story about. So we might start announcing that at the end of each episode what the idea is going to be. Doesn't matter if not. We can just make up something like you've done for today. Mm-hmm. Really.
Then we had our gaming special after that.
Gaming special for stories 7 and 8.
It was like 4 hours long, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So,
it was a marathon, that one.
Big into our gaming. You probably more than me. I used to be like hardcore into it, but we went through the ages for different consoles and that.
We're too old now.
We're too old for it. Well, you're never too old, but and we did 2 stories in that, didn't we?
Yeah. You did one called Headset, and I did one called Hunter Becomes the Hunted.
Yep. And they were gaming based.
Yes. Yes.
Again, I'd say, yours had a bit of a twist at the end.
Yeah, I've got the Red Dwarf episode in my head back to reality.
Yep.
So kind of
borrowed
the idea, inspired by it. Yeah.
And I did another dark twist.
This is another one of my favourites, just because of the twist. You don't see the twist coming.
No.
You think it's somebody else, but then it turns out to be somebody else. So.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. By David Shrewsbury. We need to explain like all these stories. We put a stupid author's name
to
them.
Protect ourselves, really. Even though we've said numerous times that it's us.
We're writing it, yeah. The next one was Beautiful Irresistible You, which you wrote, Dave.
It was by the author formerly known as Princess, wasn't it?
As Vince, I think it was. Yeah. What was the premise behind that?
It was basically a man who was at his friend's wedding, who was asked to sing the first dance song, and he was a little bit nervous about this, so he called up one of his dodgy mates to ask him if he had something to calm his nerves.
That's a smoke a marijuana cigarette.
Yes, and it turns out that he's actually not doing that anymore. He's just dabbling with black magic and potions, so he ends up giving him this potion, which is meant to be a confidence potion, but it turns out it's actually a love potion, and anyone who has seen the character since he takes this potion falls madly in love with him.
Red Dwarf again, isn't it?
Is it?
Well, there was the sexual magnetism potion.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah.
I didn't borrow it off that
I'm not saying you're just ripping off Red Dwarf all the time.
I didn't. To be honest, I didn't make that connection when I wrote it. But yeah, you're right. Probably owe them quite a lot of money now. Yeah, and then basically it's just about how he tries to get out of this wedding whilst trying not to be molested by the guests.
Yep.
It's a funny one. I enjoyed that one.
It's a good one.
It'd be one of the best ones.
I did a couple of voices in that, I think. Or one voice, I can't remember.
Yes, this is when we started. Well, I started. I came up with the idea.
Yeah.
The bedtime story innovator. Yeah, of us each other doing lines in each other's stories.
And the good thing is we don't show the other person don't read the lines until we're doing the story in front of it. So it creates all this kind of like, it's funny because it's confusing, or you might read the line the wrong way.
Yeah.
Or, you
go back to the Christmas special story, A Christmas Confession, where Morty gets me to read out some terrible line. Beautiful Irresistible You. That's probably one of my favourite ones I wrote with Beauty and the Hun, and it'd probably be the most funny one if we were to film it as a sketch, which we might do in the future. That'd be a funny episode.
That'd be good. Pen Pal was the next one by Christine Pissweiser.
I enjoyed doing the character for this one.
Yeah,
the Mexican lady.
It was set in Cliffley, and it was about a lad who'd he got a pen pal through Vicar Gerald, was running a kind of program, which is a bit dodgy to start with, and then he writes this pen pal Maria. From Mexico.
Maria from Mexico. Terrible accent.
And then
not the Mexican accent.
He's waiting for her to come over. He's waiting for her to come over, but there's a twist that isn't actually her. That's writing the letters.
He meets his estranged father, which turns out to be John Fuckden.
John Fuckden, the butcher from Cliffley, who has a whole different racket going on with what kind of meat he's using. Again, very League of Gentlemen. That again, we've taken quite a bit of inspiration from them guys. So
then we had the Halloween special for stories 11 and 12.
Yeah. Again, that were a long episode, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
My story was long.
Your story on that, you went to town. It must have taken you ages.
I had an idea in my head a couple of weeks before we were going to record it, which probably should have had it in my head double that time, because I tried to do a story for myself, Morty, and then three of our friends, Mike, Sean and Nick, who are also in the Empty-Headed family.
It was basically
and I just had no time. It was a choose your own adventure.
Yeah, choose your own adventure.
With two stories for each of us. So it was just too much work, and I didn't have time to do it all.
It was good what you did though, and it was good fun choosing the outcomes. And I think the first round that I did quite well.
You made us both survive, and I was disappointed at that.
And it kept going on and on, didn't it? Yeah. And then we had another go, and I died straight away. So
unfortunately, you didn't get you didn't get the Chucky outcome from the factory setting. That's gone now. We'll never hear that.
It worked really well for Halloween, and but again, it's kind of like a lot of it is a lot of work. It
was fun. That's the main thing. We want to do this for fun.
Good fun.
Entertain ourselves, if not you beautiful people.
Hopefully it does, because we're just rambling on. So, I did a story in that one called Mr. Murgatroyd.
Yeah.
Which
a bit dark.
It was dark again. Again, Vicar Gerald was in there setting Cliffley. There was like this sort of satanic cult thing going on. It was quite a twist.
Father Gerald's probably the most dodgy bloke.
You don't want to trust him. You don't want to trust him. He is a dodgy bloke.
Yeah.
And that later on down the line in the Christmas special, you did kind of like a sequel, like a poem.
Yeah.
In poem
at the end of that one, you learn he goes to live with Mr. Murgatroyd at the end. But in the Christmas one, I kind of bridged.
Max is the main character.
Max, yeah. I bridged the events from what happened at the end of that night up to how he ended up living with him. Which was good.
Yeah.
Then after the gaming special, we had 13, 14 and 15, which were slightly different. It was the Gary Millan.
After the Halloween one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the Gary Millan
so
autobiography.
Like we mentioned, we did the radio interview with Randy Navarro and Gary Sparkle, and it's this character I came up with like years ago, who's an Australian porn director.
Yes.
And he...
The same guy who Randy Navarro interviewed on that episode.
Yeah. So this is like his autobiography. So rather than the usual bedtime story, we read the autobiography out, parts 1, 2 and 3.
Prologue. Gary Begins and
Ascension. It's a very kind of like Batman-esque kind of story.
All coincidental similarities. Had to point that out.
And I was doing like a really dodgy Australian accent throughout the whole thing, but it's fun. I think he had a few lines in it and that. And,
yes, his serial masturbator friend
John. So that were good fun, and they're all on Spotify and SoundCloud as individual files.
There's only a few more chapters left in that autobiography, though, isn't there?
I'll probably get another 3 chapters, I reckon.
Which will air at some point over this year.
Yeah, we'll do that.
We'll get the Gary Millan saga.
Try and get it finished. But that was like 45 minutes.
15 minutes each episode, wasn't it?
3 chapters, yeah. So it's like, there's a short sort of audio book. It was quite good.
We might do some audiobooks there this year. Who knows?
Yeah.
We've got an ebook in the works as well, which is all the stories. Well, not all of the stories. Some of the stories we've done, and some which we're going to do just for a book. So if you're into ebooks, then buy it when it comes out.
It'll be like 50p or something. And then the last one was a Christmas special that we did, which I mentioned you did your poem, which was a sequel to
Mr. Murgatroyd. Yeah, done in the style of The Night Before Christmas.
It was nice. I liked it, mate.
You liked the
there was a
signature
certain line. There was a certain rhyme in there.
Signature from his solicitor.
Signature from his solicitor. Yeah.
Signature solicitor.
Yeah. Good rhyming skills. And then, I did one called Christmas Confession, which again featured Father Gerald. He's a recurring character.
I fell for this hook, line and sinker, because I'm listening to this thinking, right, Father Gerald's going to come clean here. It's going to be a nice clean slate for him. But it turned out it wasn't his confession at all. He was hearing somebody else's confession.
Yep, yeah. Won't spoil the twist.
It involves carrots going up rectums.
It was. It was a bit strange, but
it was dark for you.
For me,
all my
stories pretty dark. I don't know. It was good fun though. Anyway, so we'll have a bedtime story at the end of this episode as well. So I'll look forward to that, mate. You've got a few lines, haven't you? So
I have. Of dialogue, not of cocaine.
Whatever gets you through.
We don't need that.
2020, mate. It's been a bit of a
rocky start.
You ought to think twice before getting the builders in. Strange, but true.
Do you have any weird news that's happened?
We've got some weird news, yeah. So my first bit is ISIS leader, dubbed Jabba the Jihadi, has been captured in Iraq. Now I'll pop a picture of this guy up if we've got the visuals. Could be anywhere, don't know, mate. So this story that I read on, I think it was like New York Times or something.
New York!
And they started the story with, he puts the fat in fatwa. Is
that his name, Fatwa?
No, his name is Abul Barry. So
Abul Barrymore.
A morbidly obese ISIS fanatic dubbed Jabba the Jihadi has been captured by Iraqi forces who loaded him onto a flatbed truck because he wouldn't fit in a police car.
Doing Jabba a bit of a disservice there. Well, him a disservice. He's not as big as Jabba the Hutt.
What do you mean? I mean, he's big. He's 560
big, but I wouldn't say
pounds.
Jabba the Hutt size.
Which I think is about 40 stone.
He doesn't have a tail,
but he's
though,
big,
does he?
isn't he? He's big.
Yeah.
He might have a tail. I don't know.
He probably hasn't seen his own tail for quite a long time.
He was nabbed Thursday, which I imagine is last Thursday, by an elite SWAT team. And you see the picture, you don't need a SWAT team to take
Jihadi down.
This guy down. He's not going anywhere. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think the only threat he poses is to like a fridge or something like that. You know,
Put him
what I
on
mean?
his back.
The jumbo jihadist was known for provocative speeches against security forces.
Jumbo jihadist sounds like a really entertaining cartoon.
Or like a child's entertainer or something.
Quite all right.
There's a chap
Technical
called
issues going on all the time.
Mesa Gifford, who's a British citizen who fought with the US-backed Kurdish militia in Syria, applauded the arrest. And he said...
he applauded it because well done for getting him out of the front door. That's probably applauded it.
Yeah, onto the flatbed. It was like, as long as the devil bastes him properly, he should crisp nicely in hell, this guy said. He literally looks like the world's biggest chicken, is what he said. Which is quite true when you see the picture. I mean, I'm big, but how do you get to that size? He's just laid there, and he having his slaves and stuff, like, feed him.
I've always thought that if I see somebody who's massive... Like I read a story, I think last week.
You know, I don't want to get into shaming or anything like that, but
I am. If you're big, and you get to that stage where you're needing a crane to lift you out of your window, you've gone. Even I do it now, and I'm not big, little belly. I think to myself, I need to stop this now. So there's no excuse. Weird news.
News. Yeah, have you got any?
I've got one.
Right, go on.
The Gypsy King. Tyson Fury.
Tyson,
good old Tyson Fury. He's got a rematch coming up on the 22nd of February against Deontay Wilder. And he's been training really hard. He's eating 5 to 6 meals a day and drinking 8 litres of water to help give him an edge. But not only that, to help him get the upper hand, to keep his testosterone pumping, he's been masturbating 7 times a day. This is what he says.
Christ,
7 times
Red Raw
a day.
Yeah.
A lot of lubrication needed for that.
Hopefully, there's some scientific,
well, it's good for you, isn't it?
Reasons there.
Good for your mind. Good for your health.
Right, okay.
Apparently, it lowers your chance of getting like cancer down there.
Yeah.
You're laughing there, thinking, "What's he talking about?" It's good for you. Do that as much as you want. You don't need to get craned out of your lift, out of your window out.
You might need to if that's all you're doing. Like, you know what I mean? Eating and beating.
Eating and beating.
Yeah.
The name of the title of this episode.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That was my only dodgy story.
That's fine, mate. This is pretty much
Tyson
just
Fury
as dodgy.
somewhere around here.
Tyson Fury.
With a bottle of hand lotion.
7 times, Jesus. Right.
Good stamina. Good on him.
Good on him, yeah.
His sack must be...
He's not
Like
he's not causing any harm to anyone, is he? As long as it's not
it depends
in
where he's
public.
doing it. Yeah. Indecent public.
So this one's equally as dodgy. Police hunt toe-sucking home invader.
I saw the headline for this.
So this victim, who was 20, woke up to a male intruder. Basically, this guy was at the end of his bed sucking on his toes. This was in Florida.
Sucking on your titties like you love them, squeezing.
Investigators say the victim was sleeping in his bedroom when the suspect somehow entered the residence. This was on December the 24th as well, so Christmas Eve.
Santa, what are you doing?
Sucking on toes.
Carrots up his arse in the story, and now he's sucking toes. This is what he didn't tell Father John.
3:30 a.m. So you could think it could be Santa. And yeah, his toes are in a creepy stranger's mouth. The victim asked the suspect, "What are you doing?" In a Florida accent, and assuming that he was being robbed, but the victim declared that he didn't have any money or whatever. And the suspect told him that he was there just to suck toes. So they had a fight.
Could have been worse things he could have done to him.
There could have been, but I mean, it's still
probably
pretty
just rolled
horrific,
over, looked at him, went back to sleep, and says, "All right, carry on then. If you feel like coming up my leg a little bit, she doesn't do it anymore, so you know."
He were on his own in there, I think. But they went out into the garden having a punch up, as you do. Punched him in the face for 30 seconds, it says here, so beat the shit out of him, basically. And then he went inside to ring police, but then the guy smashed the victim's car up.
It's escalated from toe sucking to criminal damage now.
Yeah. And they've not arrested anyone yet, so he's still out there.
Creeping into your house tonight.
Yep. Make sure you
wear socks in bed.
Wear socks, yeah. So, yeah.
It's been a great start to the year.
Oh, would you rather be? Oh, would you rather be? Oh, would you rather be?
Oh, would you rather be? Would you rather, yeah. Should I start as well?
You can start off, mate. Would you rather?
So, yeah, as is tradition for these with me, I've got some dodgy ones, obviously.
Again, if you don't know what the section is, basically, it's would you rather. So, the random, we get them off Reddit, we get them off the internet. Just weird questions. So, you know, join in and let us
play along at home.
Play along. What would you rather?
Would you rather, Morty, have your body found on a pile of sex toys or a pile of drugs?
Probably go.
Quite a difference there.
There is. I probably want to be found on a pile of drugs. It looks.
Really?
I think it looks a little bit less nefarious, doesn't it?
Well, as long as one of the sex toys isn't inside you, you know.
Yeah, but what am I doing in this? Like, is it like a skip full or a factory or something? Just a pile.
I think there's a lot less nefarious if you're on sex toys, because that's just, you could be transporting them somewhere. You could
Depends what they
could be
are.
in Ann Summers' career, you know.
Yeah.
That's been robbed and left upon them. Or you could have just been enjoying yourself one night. You know, that's less harmless, I think, than being on a pile of drugs, because then everyone's going to think, oh, you dirty druggie, and then they'll question your family and, you know, all this backlash.
Well, no, but I'm sure they'd question my family if I want a pile of whatever.
Dildos.
You know, like dildos, gags. I'm still going to go with drugs. It could be a pile of
drugs from your cartel. A pile of paracetamol, Morrison's brand.
Yeah.
He's making crystal meth.
What about yourself? Are you going sex toys?
I think sex toys is... I'd rather my parents be dealt with that. You could laugh about that, but drugs, they're going to think shame on you.
Shame on you.
Shame on you and fire on your family.
Yeah.
That's what I'd go for.
Always
That's not a surprise, is it? Sex toys. Dave Judas.
Oh, right, okay. Moving on. Would you rather be in a death match with Mike Tyson or a fully grown wolf? How big does a wolf get? That's a good question.
Well, it's got claws, it's got fangs, it'd rip you apart, it'd rip your throat out.
So
Mike Tyson now or Mike Tyson in his prime?
It doesn't specify. I'd say
Mike Tyson.
He's quite softly spoken.
He's got a lisp, hasn't he?
You'd probably get bitten by both of them, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you'd lose an ear for Tyson and probably your throat with the wolf. I'd go Tyson. You could dance around him a bit.
You'd be easier to run away from Tyson. Yeah.
A wolf's got your scent. And
it's a death match, though. It's a fight to the death.
Tyson.
You
could lure him.
Yeah.
And ambush him.
Set a trap. Yeah.
I think I'd be not equally strong, but I think I'd be...
You're not equally as strong as Tyson.
Just says I'm not equally as strong, but I think I'd be stronger to, like...
Push him away?
Than a fully grown wolf.
Wolves do get pretty big, I think, you know. Yeah.
Tyson. Just offer him some drugs from your pile that you've been died on.
Fair play, yeah.
What about yourself?
Yeah, I'd probably go with Tyson, yeah. It'd probably be less painful as well if he did beat you to death than being ripped apart, you know what I mean? Like,
bludgeoning.
Yeah. A couple of punches to the head, you're gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You'd be left in a vegetative state.
Rather than your throat hanging out and, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
Tyson, every time. Me. You're excused.
Breakfast is coming back up.
Yeah, nice. What about yourself, mate? Have you got another one for us?
Do yeah. This is a good one. Would you rather be in a real version of The Walking Dead or Jurassic Park?
I feel like I watched enough.
Both would be quite good.
I think
and
The Walking Dead. I've watched enough Walking Dead and zombie films to know how to cope.
And you won't be able to trust the zombies you get. You know where you stand with a zombie.
Oh, but you
Then
mean
there's the added factor of people like I
Yeah,
could
yeah.
stab you in the back.
You could do.
never
You
know.
probably would. Dave Judas.
Dave Judas. This Judas is good. No betrayals going on from this Judas.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely Walking Dead. I don't want a raptor attacking me like a wolf.
Do you know what I read the other day as well? I don't know if this is true, but apparently they say if the asteroid that hit the Earth when the dinosaurs were still alive had hit the Earth 30 seconds later,
Right.
they probably wouldn't have all got wiped out because it would have hit in the ocean and not done so much damage,
Right,
apparently.
Okay. Right, that's interesting.
Which is mad when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like how quickly the Earth's spinning.
And then we might not have evolved.
Yeah, things
from,
might not have.
I don't know how it works, but yeah.
So
That's
that'd be
interesting.
You could obviously your herbivores. You'd be fine with them, but then a T-Rex. You'd find out if standing
Oh
still.
yeah, I mean
did nothing.
Diplodocus, you can
I wouldn't like to be
take one for a walk or but
ride them, saddle them,
Ride
like
them,
Ark.
yeah,
Is that game
yeah.
Ark? I wouldn't like to be cornered by some velociraptors.
no,
though.
no.
That'd
We've
be
all seen
terrifying.
Jurassic Park in
Yeah.
the kitchen.
Yeah, not the new ones where you can fucking communicate with them. Fuck off, Chris Pratt.
Not
Sorry,
a fan.
Chris. It's not your fault.
It's
the
not. He
writing.
didn't write it, did he? Yeah.
Communicate with raptors.
Well, you don't know, do you? Quite intelligent creatures,
They're the most vicious dinosaurs that there were.
Apparently they were feathered as well. This is another misconception. Where,
Birds?
Yeah. Well, they think they were. Do you know what I mean? But
Evolution, baby.
yeah. Here's one for you, Dave. Would you rather teleport somewhere?
I didn't give you my answer.
Oh,
on that
no,
one, sorry.
okay.
Jurassic Park would be cool, but I think Walking Dead would also be cool because you'd be able to hero.
Yeah.
But your chances of dying would be more because you literally 24/7. Something's gonna try and get you.
Yeah.
But I'd still
yeah.
do Walking Dead because it's
Yeah,
fun.
Walking Dead every time. Would you rather teleport somewhere random every time you sneeze, or get bitch slapped by every person before you have a conversation with them?
Teleport somewhere, sneezing. Don't just be like, hey
But
Ben.
it's somewhere random every time you. Yeah, but the thing is, I'd only slap you once. Do you know what I mean? You could probably
hate
get
it.
used to that. You
I
could probably
hate
get
it.
used to that.
I hate people.
Have you seen this? Have you
Tapping
seen
me on the head.
Have you seen the slapping competitions that people?
Oh, the
do?
guy, the champion, got knocked out by an amateur.
Yeah.
Fucking
As long as you're not
crazy.
talking to someone who does that, then fair dues.
It's crazy. Why do that?
People like pain,
It's one
don't
of my pet hates. If somebody taps me on the head or anything, it pisses me off. When we were bowling at Centre Parks, you did something like that, and I was like,
nearly smashed me in the face with a
fucking.
ball. Really?
I turned to you,
Jesus,
and don't do that, but it probably like.
Don't touch my hair.
It gets my goat
Jeez,
up,
man.
really.
I didn't know that about you.
Not touch my hair, but just like anything. Like,
Invade your space.
anything on the head that's
Yeah.
aggressive.
Jeez. Yeah. If anyone
Gets
wants
my
to attack
gander
you,
up.
Yeah. Now to take you down. The thing is with sneezing, it's random. It's anywhere. You could end up in the middle of the sea. You know what I mean?
I just met myself sneeze again. Or does it have to
Looking
be
at
a
the
proper
sun,
sneeze?
doing
Yeah,
that
looking
thing
at
where
the
you
sun.
look at the sun.
Whilst I'm trying not to take
Yeah.
in water.
It's pitch black. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Sneeze probably. But
Just wouldn't talk to anyone if we were
there's
going to get slapped in the
there's
face.
danger of winding up somewhere you don't want to be.
Stop yourself.
Would you rather take a bullet for someone or take a 2-year prison sentence for someone
Bullet.
in the leg?
Well, if it hits the main artery.
Well, no, but I mean, you just take.
I'd rather take a bullet than take a big D in the showers.
2 years. 2 years in the.
2
slammer.
years of anal penetration, that's not.
I think
wanted.
that's a myth that happens in prisons.
I'll just get beat up with the shiv in your cell.
It depends
No.
what prison you're going into. And
I'm a
what you've
woman.
done. You know what I mean?
No offense, ladies, but I'm a scaredy cat. I don't like confrontation.
But you'd
So I ain't
happily
going-
be shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm taking a bullet, so
Yeah.
I'd like to think that I'm being heroic. If it was in London and someone pulled a gun or a knife on me, I'd be fucking off. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people would just run in that
No, because
situation.
you hear these people who run towards it. It's
No,
like,
but if
that's
there's a
not
group,
in my DNA.
no, but if there's a group of you, you know what I mean? Like,
All for
if
one
there's
and
a
one
group,
for all.
Say that were me and you in
That's a group.
a train with a couple of other people, and one guy got like a small shank out and was going for you.
But who's going to make the first move?
I think you could take him down. Yeah. I'm not saying that.
You have to come from
really
the side and catch him in the waist.
Yeah, I don't
you know.
know. Yeah,
I'm a coward.
at least you admit it.
I can't, well, that's what I say. I've never been in that situation,
exactly,
but I'm pretty
yeah,
sure
well,
that I would.
Yeah.
See you later.
But you'd defend your friends.
I'd defend you. Yeah, I'd defend you. I'd take a bullet for you, mate.
Oh, cheers, man. Thank you. Can't say I'd go the other way, but
You'd be holding the gun.
yeah. So, bullet. I think I'd agree. You don't know what's going to happen in prison, do you? And if it's in the leg, I think I could take that. Just it'd hurt, but
Well, it hurt anyway.
it'd be over fairly quickly.
Sure,
wouldn't
you
it?
get a graze on your arm or something.
Yeah.
Get shot in the kneecap, something to be pretty fucking awful.
Yeah, you don't want that. You want it flesh, don't you? Just a bit of a flesh wound. So, yeah.
The day to day.
The day to day. So this is a section where we look back through the years. We go on a metaphorical time machine.
Metaphorical DeLorean.
Imaginary time machine. I don't know where I'm going with that.
Hot tub.
Yeah, Hot Tub Time Machine. Great film.
Train. Back to the Future 3.
Yep. So different dates around this kind of time when we'd either be recording it or you might be listening to it. I've got a few dates over the next week or so.
We brought this in to get rid of trending topics because
did.
it was a lot more entertaining.
A bit more interesting. A few
History's
facts.
good to
History
look
lesson.
back,
History
you know.
lesson. So January the 18th, which was yesterday, I believe, was it?
Yeah.
Yep.
As of recording this.
As we're recording this. So around this time. So this was in 1644, so this is going back. So,
I remember it well.
Perplexed pilgrims in Boston reported Perplexed pilgrims in Boston reported America's first UFO sighting. 1644, what could it be?
A bird, probably.
An asteroid, a meteor.
A star.
A meteor. Yeah. Could be a UFO.
A time travel
It's a UFO,
plane.
it's unidentified, do you know what it could be?
Exactly.
Yeah, sure, man.
UFOs don't just necessarily mean aliens.
They
do
don't.
Just unidentified.
Could be anything.
Rock, which one rival tribe could have hurled towards another one. Tribe.
A rival pilgrim.
1644, though. That's 1644 as we know it.
Yeah.
So how long's America been on the go then in 1644?
Don't know. Not that long, surely.
Because America's not that old, is it?
19th today, 1915, World War One. 4 people in Norfolk are killed in the first German Zeppelin air raid attack on the UK.
Zeppelin area.
Yeah.
You always think Spitfires and stuff.
Yeah.
Big bloody
yeah,
Zeppelin.
Big blimp in Norfolk.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Didn't they fly them on hydrogen, which is stupid?
Yeah, because
they let people smoke on the bloody blimps. What was it called? The Zeppelin.
January the 20th, 2008, Breaking Bad premiered. So that's, over 10 years now. That's crazy, isn't it?
I watched it last year. It was the first time I saw Breaking Bad.
Yeah. No, it's good, good.
I don't jump on the bandwagon. It was getting too much hype, so I thought I'll watch it when I'm ready.
I watched it when it were all out, I think a few years back, and it's just good having it all at your disposal.
I feel it
I'll
tailed
do the
off.
same with Game of Thrones eventually. Right.
Well, the ending of that was less said the better, really. Yeah, it tailed off to Breaking Bad. It probably should have ended the season before, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it were a bad ending. Do you know what I mean? Like, you get a lot of these series where you just can't please people, but I think it weren't bad. And the film weren't bad either.
Not watched it yet. El Camino.
El Camino. Again, I don't know whether it needed to be made, but it was.
In the back of an El Camino, as a kid, was a skid. No one knew me by name.
Trashed my own house party because nobody came. January the 21st.
I'm unprepared on this section, by the way.
No, it's fine, mate. Just winging it. 1978, Bee Gees' Saturday Night Fever goes #1 for 24 weeks. 1978.
24 weeks.
Yeah.
Good old what's his face? John Travolta.
John Travolta.
In the film,
yes.
with that white suit on.
Yeah.
Famous image.
You look a bit like him, actually.
Do I?
No. Event date, January 26th. Now, this is a biggie. 1998. Bill Clinton. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Got sucked off by Monica Lewinsky.
He denied that he had sexual relations with...
I had sexual relations with this woman. I don't know if it sounds like that.
It does
I'm
a
just
bit,
going
yeah,
off
yeah.
Family Guy again.
22-year-old aide Monica Lewinsky.
22?
Yeah.
Go on, Bill.
He's
It's the fucking president, for Christ's sake.
dodgy bastard Clinton, though. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you look into this Epstein
Politicians are all dodgy.
thing,
Does Clinton have something to do with
Yeah,
Epstein?
he's been on his plane like 27 times. You know what I mean? He's been
Fun
to his
plane.
dodgy island. I'm not making it up. Weird. And then
Politicians, they're all freaking dodgy, man.
Yeah.
Apart from Jezza.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman. Was that more George Bush? I don't know. Yeah.
I did not have sexual... Comment below.
I did not have sexual relations.
On YouTube to let us know how our Bill impressions were.
So that's all I've got for the day today.
Fantastic.
So a few things have happened. Just struggled then. Yeah.
Well done.
Cool.
Excellent. We're getting close to the bedtime story.
We are, mate. It's time for the bedtime story.
Before the bedtime story, though,
Yep.
I just want to, if you follow us on Instagram and Twitter,
Yep.
you might have seen, or you might already know, in February, Cancer Research do something called Game Changer Challenge, which is basically gamers doing live streams, challenges,
Yep.
24-hour runs, that kind of thing. We've decided we're going to do it, seeing as we're doing video now. We're going to get a camera, we're going to set it up to my PS4, and we're going to do a day of live streaming, all for Cancer Research UK. We're going to play a few games, bit of fancy dress. It's going to be a lot of fun. So come and join us and donate for a good cause.
All for a good cause.
Yeah, but we're in the
fun.
process of...
we need to sort out setting it up. We're not very tech savvy.
We're not
so,
too old for this. We need a couple of 7-year-olds to help set us up.
Well, I don't know about that. But, so... Cool.
More info as and when.
Yeah, like I say, happy to have any sponsors, and it's all for a good cause. It should be good fun.
Should be good. And then that might lead on to...
Yeah.
MTD Podcast Gaming Twitch channel.
Yeah,
Why
who
not?
knows? Who knows? Yeah.
Get us into the games more.
Cool. Nice one, mate.
Yeah.
Right, bedtime story, guys. So the first bedtime story of 2020.
Got my lines here. Didn't have to
Dave
print them, don't
Judas
know
has
why I print
got some lines there, which he's going to help me out with.
them. God, can I see them? You've printed them off, highlighted in dark green.
That's only because I need them highlighted in green on my... Can you see them?
Well, I mean, you could have done it in any other colour. You know, a lighter colour.
Sorry, mate. Oh,
A yellow perhaps would have been quite nice.
No, but complaints. Jesus. Right. Are you ready?
I'm ready. So,
Yeah.
so give us a little bit of backstory on the very first bedtime story of 2020.
So the very first bedtime story. So this is a story by a chap called Benjamin Wanklin, and it's called "Kicking the Balls."
Kicking the balls.
Yeah, kicking the balls. So just go into it, mate. I can't really give you a backstory because it is a story. So. You happy with that?
You'll see the cues. You'll see this is how we do it now with the lines. You'll see the little nods.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah, I forgot about that.
The magic's being shattered.
So, here we go.
So,
Are you ready? So, clear the old throat. So again, anything could happen. I'll probably stumble over my lines. You know what I mean? Dave might say something wrong. I don't know, but we'll just go with it. I've only read through it once myself, so. It might be shit, I don't know. But right, here we go. So,
You still awake? Would you like me to read you a bedtime story?
Kicking the Balls by Benjamin Wanklin. Beep, beep, beep. George's alarm went off. He reached over to the bedside table with his eyes still closed to hit the snooze button. What seemed like 2 seconds later, the alarm sounded once more. George glanced with his bleary eyes at the clock. 6 a.m. George rubbed his eyes and let out a large yawn.
Well, fuck this shit,
he muttered under his breath and rolled out of bed. George only had to walk a few metres over to his kitchenette, which adorned the wall opposite his sleeping area in the tiny flat he called his humble abode. George turned and looked at the clock once more, an hour or so before he had to set off for work. George poured some cornflakes into his bowl and opened the fridge door.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Shaking his head. No milk. He picked up the dry cereal with his hand and shoved it into his mouth, and decided he'd go to his local Greggs for a bite to eat on his way to work.
That was ad-libbed.
I like it. George turned to go to his small bathroom to shower and get ready for his day ahead. Bang!
My bastard toe!
George held his foot and hopped around the room. He'd stubbed his toe on the side of a chair leg. He hobbled towards the shower, stripping off his pyjama bottoms. As he turned the shower on, he held his hand under the cold water.
He held his tongue.
He held his hand under the cold water and noticed it refused to turn warm. Not even tepid.
Great.
George said.
Been there, done that. It's not fun.
Not fun. George said as he hopped into the freezing water.
Shit!
He shivered. Nice. One thing that was for
I'm
certain...
imagining it, you know.
Yeah. It's not a good day so far, is it? One thing was for certain. George was now wide awake, but still not ready for his day. He brushed his teeth and stared into the mirror, looking at his crow's feet and black bags under his eyes. Sitting on the edge of his bed, George pulled on his socks, one of which ripped as it has a hole in the bottom of the heel. He tossed it towards the bin in the corner of the room, but failed to hit the target. Bending down to retrieve the discarded appendage cloth, George felt his back go, saving flailing to the floor only by steadying himself on the wall. Just find my space there. It took George a while to get fully dressed due to his immobility. With his shirt creased and his tie loose, he checked himself once more in the mirror before he went to leave the small flat, letting out a big sigh and looking over to the clock once more. He was already running late, but was still looking forward to his Greggs breakfast. George approached the lift as he lived on the 7th floor of an apartment complex. A sign on the lift door read out of order. George punched the elevator door and felt a sharp pain in his wrist.
Bastard!
He shouted. George hobbled down the stairwell and checked his postbox at the entrance to the complex. George stuffed the post in his pocket and would read it on the bus, but not the bus he originally planned to get. Regardless, he had no time to be messing about now. George walked through the dark streets. It had been fine when he left the building, cold but fine. Suddenly the sky turned grey and a hail shower opened up, hitting George with ball-bearing sized pellets of ice. George skipped into a covered shop doorway, protecting himself from the onslaught of violent weather. He looked down and noticed a sleeping bag. A homeless man peeked out from beneath his cover. George had seen this man on many occasions and often gave him what little money he had. But today George only had enough change for his Greggs breakfast and his bus fare to work. I've seen you before, muttered the homeless man.
Yeah, sorry to intrude. I'm just staying out of this,
George said whilst pointing at the weather. Any spare change, lad? The homeless man asked, holding out his hand.
Not today, mate, sorry.
George said, holding the change he needed in his pocket, feeling a little guilty that he probably could have given the poor guy some change and just not gone to Greggs. After all, this guy was a lot more worse off than George, even if he hadn't had a great start to the day. Not today. You're just like the rest of them. You guys in your suits and ties can't even help a fellow human out. You're no better than me. The homeless man stood up and pushed George out into the hail. George fell backwards, hitting his head on the curb, and was soaked through, ice still pelting his face. A few coins flew out of his pocket. You lying bastard! The enraged homeless man spat at George. Spoo! I can't do a spit sound. And he picked up the loose change.
Fine, keep it.
George said, picking himself up and wiping the grit off his coat and trousers. George gingerly walked away,
Forgetting the wound that he's now got at the back of his head.
George gingerly walked away, holding the back of his head, with pain coursing through his body. 2 minutes down the road, George would be able to sit down in Greg's and gather his thoughts, dry off and warm up a little, and hopefully his day would improve, as, let's be honest, it wasn't going great. George reached into his pocket and checked what little change he had left after his altercation. Good. Enough for the bus and perhaps a sausage roll. Maybe today wasn't a total write-off. George entered the famed baker's.
His expectations are low, aren't they? If that's what he's going to... The day's a complete write-off if he can't have a butty or get the bus.
George entered the famed baker's. It was fairly quiet. An old lady sat nursing a coffee at the table. Other than that, it was just two people, a middle-aged lady and a young man working behind the pastry-filled counter.
Just a sausage roll, please.
George muttered, while struggling to count his change in his shivering hands. Just got vegan ones, love. That's all right, Chuck, the lady behind the counter asked. George could feel the rage building in his mind and clenched his fists. He glanced at the worker's name. He glanced at the worker's name badge, which read Kathleen.
No, it's not bloody all right. Kathleen. Right, I've had enough.
George walked back towards the door and locked the latch at the top of the door. The old woman stood up from the table holding her Greg's coffee and pointing at George with her walking stick. "What are you doing, love?" she questioned.
Just shut up.
George shouted, grabbing an orange Lucozade Sport from the fridge and launching it at the old lady, hitting her square in the face, knocking her clean out. Falling back into her seat, dropping her walking stick, and coffee spilling all over the floor. "Oh my God!" Kathleen screamed. "I'm calling the police!" Kathleen ran into the back of the shop. The other young male worker stood frozen, shocked as to what was happening.
Are you able to make me a meat sausage roll?
George asked. The young lad nodded and sprung into action. Kathleen reappeared from the back of the shop. "The police are on their way! You're not going to hurt us, are you?" George snapped.
Look, I've just had a ruddy shit day so far, and it's only 8:30. I just wanted a bloody sausage roll. In fact, make me a tray full.
Kathleen turned to her co-worker, hurrying him to meet George's demands.
What are you planning, Kathleen?
George asked in paranoia, as he thought the Greg's workers were hatching some sort of escape plan. George could hear sirens approaching. Woo!
Sounds like a ghost coming.
I don't know, a siren noise. It's quite a camp, that noise. Whoop, 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 whoop. Anyway, sirens. He leapt over the counter and grabbed the two terrified bakers and walked them into the back of the shop. "Don't you want your sausage rolls?" Kathleen asked. George noticed a large fridge and opened the door.
I'm past sausage rolls now, Kathleen. I've got further demands when the police show up. Nothing ever goes my way. I'm going to take this company for all it's got and demand a ransom. Then I'll have money and I can live the life I want to lead. I've got nothing, but by the end of this morning, I'll have everything I need. Now get in that fridge.
Jesus, angry. George shoved the workers into the walk-in fridge and slammed the large metal door shut, putting a chair against the handle so they would not be able to escape the food-conserving tundra. Walking back into the shop floor, he noticed the little old lady was fast asleep. She'd be no trouble for now, George thought. He helped himself
asleep, you mean knocked out still? Probably concussed.
He helped himself to a bottle of Sprite and a pre-made ham and egg baguette from the counter. Numerous police cars skidded to a halt outside the hail-covered street and hopped out of their cars to survey the situation. A few officers set up a barrier, and members of the public gathered to peer into Greg's from a distance to see what was occurring. George let out a smile. So far, his life had been...
Let out a smile?
Let out a smile. So far, his life had been non-eventful, but now it was his time to shine. He could be infamous. A police officer, who looked a lot like Hugh Grant, but less annoying, shouted through a megaphone towards the building. "Shh! Hello in there! We understand you have staff inside and an injured member of the public. Let them go and we can talk. I'm going to give you a number you can call me on my phone to... I'm going to give you a number you can call me on my phone to discuss." Shh. George grabbed a piece of receipt roll and pen and jotted down the police officer's number and grabbed the phone from behind the counter and rung the officer outside. "Hello," answered the officer. "Whom is it I'm talking to?"
George. My name's George. I just wanted a bloody sausage roll. That's all I wanted. But now I've got further demands.
"OK, George," said the police officer. "I'm Superintendent Armstrong. We understand that there is an injured lady in the front of the shop. Can you let her go and we can talk?" George thought about the situation. 2 hostages would be easier to manage than 3. If he cooperated with the law, perhaps they would cooperate with him.
OK, Armstrong. But then we talk.
George said and hung up the phone. George walked towards the front of the shop. By now, even more police and onlookers had joined the crowd. George approached the old lady he had earlier attacked in a fit of frenzy and shook her arm to try to wake her up. Nothing. No movement. George shook a bit harder.
Oh, shit.
George whispered under his voice. He'd killed someone. George picked
Fucking
up the
bottle of Lucozade to the head. Jesus.
Could happen, mate.
Should be playing baseball or something with a pitch like that.
George picked up the phone and rang Armstrong back, trying to keep his voice from trembling.
Slight problem. The old dear seems to be sleeping. Don't really want to disturb her.
Armstrong responded. "We saw you through the window, George. That woman's not sleeping. What have you done, George?" George peered through the window and could see Armstrong holding the phone whilst directing other police officers to various positions surrounding the shop in a closer proximity. George snapped down the phone.
Shit! I didn't mean to do it. She was just in the way. Look, it's not been the best day. Get me 1 million in transport, or I'm leaving the staff in the fridge, and it won't be a good day for them either.
Bing! The noise came from a nearby oven. George wandered over, hanging up the phone. He opened the oven. Fresh, warm sausage rolls. He'd eat these, get his money, and be on his way, he thought. Everything will be okay. George sat on the floor and munched through the tray of pastry-based goodness. Confused tears rolled down his face. How had he ended up in this situation? Just then, the fridge door burst open. The chair that was holding the door handle flipped over, crashing to the floor. George stood up. The young male Greggs worker who had made the very sausage rolls he was eating raced past George and dived through the shop window, smashing it into pieces.
Very dramatic.
But he was free. Police ran to retrieve the crumpled...
Crumpet.
Police ran to retrieve a crumpled retail worker and backed off from the theatre of conflict, the shop. George panicked and grabbed Kathleen, who screamed, "Ah!"
Don't say anything, Kathleen, and we'll both leave here alive, okay?
George approached the front of the shop, holding Kathleen from behind, and peered over the terrified woman's shoulder, out of a broken shop window, towards a herd of police, all looking at the unfolding situation. George could now see Armstrong directly ahead of him, leant on the bonnet of a BMW X5. They were now in the proximity where they could easily talk to each other without the aid of a telephone or megaphone or phone of any variety.
You got me money yet, Armstrong?
George asked. We're just waiting to talk. We're just wanting to talk at this point, George. How about you let Kathleen go? There's been enough trouble today, Armstrong tried to reason.
Not until I've got the dosh and you can guarantee my escape. Otherwise I put Kathleen in the oven and turn her into a steak bake.
George held Kathleen tighter. She whimpered in terror. Armstrong waved towards more officers towards the shop. George, what do you actually think the outcome is here? We can't just give you the money and let you walk out of here. You've killed someone already and terrorised 2 others. If you do try to escape, it will just get worse. George started to back up from the window, stepping over the spilt coffee on the floor. A moment of clarity hit him. He was royally screwed. He decided he'd hand himself in and end the madness, but not before he'd have one last sausage roll. George had put one in his back pocket for easy access. He reached for his pocket.
Crumble up, boy.
Then a loud bang. Whack! Kathleen let out a scream. Blood covered the walls and floor. And George's grip loosened. Kathleen turned to see George fall to the floor, a hole in his forehead, and brain mulch littering the floor from the exit wound in the back of his opened head.
Jesus Christ. Standoff at Greggs. So very violent.
Yeah. Kathleen both bolted for the door and unbolted it, running into Armstrong's arms. You're safe now, he whispered.
What a hero. I'm getting very Alan Partridge vibes on this. Don't know why.
Armstrong, Armstrong walked into the Armstrong walked into the blood-soaked shop. The smell of warm baked gubs.
Warm gubs.
Can't speak. Armstrong walked into the blood-soaked shop. The smell of warm baked goods and death filled the air. He walked over to the coffee machine and helped himself to a budget mocha. Just what had happened here today, he thought to himself. He approached the body of George and looked for some ID to establish exactly who this maniac was, and if he could establish a motive. Armstrong pulled out the post that George had earlier collected at the start of the terrible day. Armstrong ripped open the letter to see if he could gain any insight into the sorry individual's life. He scanned the letter. It was from a solicitor. It read, "Dear George Murgatroyd, you have been contacted as you have been named as sole beneficiary in Mr. M. Murgatroyd's will. You are due to inherit his residence in Cliffley, all his assets and finances, which total an approximate £5 million. Armstrong sipped on his mocha. "Well, that's a bit of a kick in the balls," he chuckled and slipped the letter into his coat pocket. "Bag the bodies," he shouted at his colleagues, and walked out of Greg's into the cold morning air. The end.
Wow.
You still awake? Would you like me to read you a bedtime story?
Wow. Friggin' secret child of Mr. Murgatroyd. Mr. Murgatroyd's dead.
Mate. It didn't say what time sort of frame this was set in, or
what time frame? But yeah, where's Max in all this?
Well,
Max isn't
that could have been Max, Mr. M. Murgatroyd. You don't know. I don't think we ever gave Mr. Murgatroyd's first name away.
So this could be way in the future. Then. Max has inherited his fortune. He's dead now.
Yeah.
God, this is way in the future then.
So there you go.
Max's son's
kicking the balls.
dead.
So if it had just opened that letter before he had set off to work, then...
Or if it had just given the homeless guy change.
Exactly.
He wouldn't have been in a bad mood.
Yeah,
if he lowered the expectations a little bit, maybe it wouldn't have pissed him off as much. Because, I mean, he had a breakdown, didn't he, in Greg's?
Pretty much, yeah. Happens to the best of us.
Good one.
Cheers,
Benjamin Wanklin.
Yeah.
Good start to the year.
First story. Hope you enjoyed that, and that's something we do at the end of every podcast.
Brilliant.
Or we try to do at the end of every podcast.
Thank you
cheers
for
doing the lines,
sir.
mate. Yeah, nice one. Good work.
Thank you.
Cool. Right, I think that's it for the first episode, mate. So, and we'll hopefully get them going more regular.
Audio and video.
Hopefully
together.
the videos work. And
Hopefully it's
we'll
in
be
sync.
on YouTube. Yeah.
On the tube. If you
We'll
fancy
see what
watching
happens.
us, watching our beautiful mugs talk about shit and
Just
jabba
talk
the hut
absolute
and,
shit.
and then do random stuff.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And please join in on our Insta stories and stuff.
Like, subscribe and share and all that shit. Guys.
Bit cringe.
So guys, hey guys. Not a
Cool.
fan.
Nice one. Cheers.
I'll be doing next week's story. Next week's story.
Yeah, cool, mate. Cheers.
See you
See you
on the
later.
flip side. Nightly bye.
The Empty-Headed Podcast. The Empty-Headed Podcast.